Rune 38 of the Kalevala. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. The Kalevala, compiled by Elias Lonroth, translated by John Martin Crawford. Rune 38, Ilmarinen's Fruitless Wooing. Ilmarinen, the magician, the eternal metal artist, lays aside the golden image, beauteous made of magic metals, throws the harness of his courser, binds him to his sledge of birchwood, seats himself upon the crossbench, snaps the whip above the racer, thinking once again to journey to the mansions of Pohjola. There too a bride in honor, second daughter of the Northland. On he journeyed, restless northward, journeyed one day, then a second, so the third from morn till evening, when he reached a Northland village, on the plains of Sariola, Louhi, hostess of Pohjola. Standing in the open courtyards, spied the hero Ilmarinen, thus addressed the metal worker. Tell me how my child is living, how the bride of beauty prospers as a daughter to thy mother. Then the blacksmith, Ilmarinen, head bent down and brow dejected, thus addressed the Northland hostess. O thou dame of Sariola, do not ask me of thy daughter, since alas, I in Tuonela sleeps the maiden of the rainbow, sleeps in death the bride of beauty, underneath the fragrant heather, in the kingdom of Manala. Come I for a second daughter, for the fires of thy virgins, beauteous hostess of Pohjola. Give to me thy youngest maiden, for my former wife's compartments, for the chambers of her sister. Louhi, hostess of the Northland, spake these words to Ilmarinen. Foolish was the Northland hostess, when she gave her fairest virgin, in the bloom of youth and beauty, to the blacksmith of Wainola, only to be led to Mana, like a lambkin to the slaughter. I shall never give my daughter, shall not give my youngest maiden, bride of thine to be hereafter, life companion at thy fireside. Sooner will I give the fair one to the cataract and whirlpool, to the river of Manala, to the waters of Tuoni. Then the blacksmith Ilmarinen drew away his hat, disdainful, shook his sable locks in anger, entered to the inner courtroom, where the maiden sat in waiting, spake these measures to the daughter. Come with me, thou bright-eyed maiden, to the cottage where thy sister lived and lingered in contentment. Bake for me the toothsome biscuit, brew for me the beer of barley, keep my dwelling place in order. On the floor a babe was lying. Thus he sung to Ilmarinen. Uninvited, leave this mansion, go, thou stranger, from this dwelling. Once before thou camest hither, only bringing pain and trouble, filling all our hearts with sorrow. Fairest daughter of my mother, do not give this suitor welcome. Look not on his eyes with pleasure, nor admire his form and features. In his mouth are only wolf teeth, cunning fox claws in his mittens. In his shoes are only bear claws, in his belt a hungry dagger, weapons these of blood and murder, only worn by the unworthy. Then the daughter spake as follows to the blacksmith Ilmarinen. Follow thee this maid will never, never heed unworthy suitors. Thou hast slain the bride of beauty, once the maiden of the rainbow. Thou wouldst also slay her sister. I deserve a better suitor, wish a truer, nobler husband, wish to ride in richer sledge, have a better home protection. Never will I sweep the cottage and the cold place of a blacksmith. Then the hero Ilmarinen, The eternal metal artist turned his head away, disdainful, shook his sable locks in anger, quickly seized the trembling maiden, held her in his grasp of iron, hastened from the court of Louhi to his sledge upon the highway. In his sled he sits the virgin, snugly wraps her in his fur robes, snaps his whip above the racer, gallops on the high road homeward. With one hand the reins be tightens, with the other holds the maiden. Speaks the virgin daughter, weeping: "We have reached the lowland berries. Here the herbs of water borders. Leave me here to sink and perish, as a child of cold misfortune. Weak Ilmarinen, listen! If thou dost not quickly free me, I will break thy sledge to pieces, throw thy fur robes to the north winds." Ilmarinen makes this answer: "When the blacksmith builds his snow sledge, all the parts are hooped with iron. Therefore will the beauteous maiden never beat my sledge to fragments." Then the silver tinselled daughter wept and wailed in bitter accent, wrung her hands in desperation, spake again to Ilmarinen: "If thou dost not quickly free me, I shall change to ocean salmon, be a weaving of the waters. Thou wilt never thus escape me, as a pike I'll fleetly follow." Then the maiden of Pohjola wept and wailed in bitter accent, wrung her hands in desperation, spake again to Ilmarinen: "If thou dost not quickly free me, I shall hasten to the forest, 'mid the rocks become an ermine. Thou wilt never thus escape me, as a serpent I will follow." Then the beauty of the Northland wailed and wept in bitter accent, wrung her hands in desperation, spake once more to Ilmarinen: "Surely if thou dost not free me, as a lark I'll fly in the ether, hide myself within the storm clouds. Neither wilt thou thus escape me, as an eagle I will follow." They had gone but little distance, when the coursers ceased and halted, frightened at some passing object, and the maiden looked in wonder. In the snow beheld some footprints, spake this word to Ilmarinen: "Who has run across our highway?" "'Tis the timid hare," he answered. Thereupon the stolen maiden sobbed and moaned in depths of sorrow. Heavy hearted, spake these measures: "Woe is me, ill-fated virgin! Happier for my life hereafter, if the hare I could but follow to his burrow in the woodlands. Crookleg's fur to me is finer than the robes of Ilmarinen." Ilmarinen the magician tossed his head in full resentment, galloped on the highway homeward, travelled but a little distance, when again his coursers halted, frightened at some passing stranger. Quick the maiden looked and wondered, in the snow beheld some footprints, spake these measures to the blacksmith: "Who has crossed our snowy pathway?" "'Tis a fox," replied the minstrel. Thereupon the beauteous virgin moaned again in depths of anguish, sang this accent heavy hearted: "Woe is me, ill-fated maiden! Happier fall my life hereafter, with the cunning fox to wander, than with this ill-mannered suitor. Reynard's fur to me is finer than the robes of Ilmarinen." Thereupon the metal worker shut his lip in sore displeasure, hastened on the highway homeward, travelled but a little distance, when again his coursers halted. Quick the maiden looked in wonder, in the snow beheld some footprints, spake these words to the magician: "Who again has crossed our pathway?" "'Tis the wolf," said Ilmarinen. Thereupon the fated daughter fell again to bitter weeping, and intoned this word of sorrow: "Woe is me, a hapless maiden! Happier far my life hereafter, brighter far would be my future, if these tracks I could but follow. On the wolf the hair is finer than the furs of Ilmarinen, faithless suitor of the Northland." Then the minstrel of Wainola closed his lips again in anger, shook his sable locks, resentful, snapped the whip above the racer, and the steed flew onward swiftly over the way to Kalevala. to the village of the blacksmith. Sad and weary from his journey, Ilmarinen home returning, fell upon his couch in slumber, and the maiden laughed derision. In the morning slowly waking, head confused and locks dishevelled, spake the wizard words as follow: "Shall I set myself to singing magic songs and incantations? Shall I now enchant this maiden to a black wolf on the mountains, to a salmon of the ocean? Shall not send her to the woodlands, all the forest will be frightened. Shall not send her to the waters, all the fish will flee in terrors. This my sword shall drink her life blood, and her reign of scorn and hatred." Quick the sword feels his intention, quick divines his evil purpose, speaks these words to Ilmarinen: "Was not born to drink the life blood of a maiden pure and lovely, of a fair but helpless virgin." Thereupon the magic minstrel, filled with rage, began his singing, sang the very rocks asunder, till the distant hills re-echo. Sang the maiden to a seagull, croaking from the ocean ledge, calling from the ocean island, screeching on the sandy sea coast, flying to the winds opposing. When his conjuring had ended, Ilmarinen joined his snow sledge, whipped his steed upon a gallop, hastened to his ancient smithy, to his home in Kalevala. Wainamoinen, old and truthful, comes to meet him on the highway, speak this word to the magician: "Ilmarinen, worthy brother, wherefore comest heavy hearted from the dismal Sariola? Does Pohjola live and prosper?" Spake the minstrel Ilmarinen: "Why should not Pohjola prosper? There the Sampo grins unceasing, noisy rocks the lead in colors, grins one day the flower for eating, grins the second flower to selling, grins the third day flower for keeping. Thus it is Pohjola prosper, while the Sampo is in Northland. There is plowing, there is sowing, there is growth of every virtue, there is welfare never ending." Spake the ancient Wainamoinen: "Ilmarinen art his brother, where then is the Northland daughter, far renowned and beauteous maiden, for whose hand thou hast been absent?" These the words of Ilmarinen: "I have changed the hateful virgin to a seagull on the ocean. Now she calls above the waters, screeches from the ocean island. On the rocks she calls and murmurs, faintly calling for a suitor." End of Rune 38.